Hello and welcome back to the Poultry Network Podcast. I'm Tom Woolman.
And I'm Tom Willings.
Are you feeling any better this week, Tom?
No, not really. It's lingering. In joke. It's an in-joke, Tom, but yeah. Moving swiftly on.
So we're delighted to say that this week we're joined again by David Mark, consultant extraordinaire. And if anyone has listened to the last episode, David shared some of his experience in terms of what he's seen in the industry, not just in the poultry industry, but in agricultural industries since the start of his career. And we reflected on some of the changes that had happened in that time.
A fascinating perspective, and a perspective beyond both of our lifetimes, Tom. I think we have to sort of salute.
Robert, then.
Yeah. I think in all seriousness, David, you made a point in the warm up to our previous episode, and if anyone hasn't listened to it, I'd highly recommend that you do, and you should by now already be subscribing to all of our podcasts. But I think things that didn't happen within our lifetime feel much further, in the past, in history, than they actually were. That was the crux of a point that you were making to Tom and I, and I think that's absolutely true. I know in the egg industry, 1988 remains a very, very dark turning point for the industry, and from which great things have subsequently occurred. But the older we get, the fewer of the participants in the egg industry weren't around in 1988 and have no idea what the grey hair, or in our case no hair, are talking about when we do refer to it. You really brought it home. You did a fantastic job.
So David, we just wanted to talk this episode a little bit about your current work, which I believe is work in supporting farmers, looking at new broiler shed investments and strategic decisions and ways of developing their businesses. What's your general overview of the health of the poultry sector and the broiler sector at the moment?
I suppose to put it in context, I went back and with the benefit of ChatGPT, looked at the chicken consumption figures from 75 when I left school to now, and there's the consumption's over 100% per person per year. And looking at even the efficiency of the broiler, feed to meat ratio over that period for a typical bird is going over by 20%. So massive changes. Chicken as a good quality protein is a major part of the diet. There's a major demand for chicken. The work that has been done with reducing stocking density has put pressure on space, and the industry is in good heart. I talked earlier about the importance of partnership. I believe that contract growers and growers generally work well with their integrators. Yeah, there's always going to be those discussions around pricing, but it is about partnership. Moy Park, Avara, Two Sisters cannot exist without chicken, without growers, and that whole expertise and their willingness to invest, to keep investing, because the poultry business has shown us that we need to reinvest. We need to keep our buildings contemporary, our equipment updated, and as we start to grow, develop and build good quality housing.
Yeah. So, and I would have said that the trend that I've seen is that generally when you've got large businesses or large integrators is they want to put their money into places where they can see a very quick rate of return, and that is generally into facilities that are running on high volume, places like factories, places like feed mills, and things that are really critical to their operations. The farms are critical, but obviously there are lots and lots of farms, and I think that's where I think there's a lot of opportunities, aren't there, for farmers that want to expand, that want to use their capital and want to grow their business in partnership with others. There's not as many, if you go back 30, 40 years, there would have been a lot of chicken businesses and integrators building their own sheds. Well, I don't think there's that many building their own sheds anymore, really. They're looking to other people to do it.
Although I do think they've identified that, I'm going to say owning the space, but having that space committed to you, having those contract growers committed to you as a business is essential. And I think there's a lot more effort being put into the partnership, as I talked about, building slightly longer term contracts, but making them worthwhile, make them receptive to the marketplace. I think also, there's a lot of work being done with the supermarkets, their agricultural departments wanting to come out to meet farmers and understanding what farmers are doing and getting farmers to understand what they need from them. All of that's really healthy. It's not about a sale in the wholesale market or it's transactional. It is partnership based. And I think a lot of my growers that I'm doing work with, quite a lot of them, because it's Lincolnshire, are very much involved in the tillage side of this business. They really rely, this diversification in chicken is a lifeline for them. Now, it's very strong at the minute and cereals aren't. But, if you've got more than one leg to the stool, you have the possibility that one will be up and one will be down. And that's been really beneficial. And, we understand there's a difficulty around planning. And that is a problem. And I think we've haven't brought it on ourselves, but I mean, I remember going to a planning inquiry about a site that we're building near Grantham. And the local schoolmaster was there and he said, the school's going to close. If this farm is built, the smell, what's going to happen? This is terrible. All sorts of nonsense was spoken. Now, the farm has been built. It's a lovely farm, very well developed, very clean and tidy. No impact on the community. But, we don't sort of answer those things. And we've been very careful about biosecurity. And we all know about AI and we all know about the importance of that. But the other thing that has done is stop people coming in to see what we do in these sheds. And it's almost as if we're hiding something. We're not. It was for biosecurity reasons. Now, we had a period where we built quite a lot of viewing galleries, but still I don't know that we've used them enough. I get a small percentage of the population in, but it is important. Open farm weekends, open farm Sundays, all of those are important, to try and get the public to understand that we are actually proud of what we do, producing chicken for the market.
Yeah. So if someone's looking to build a broiler site, what are some of the considerations that they should have at the start of the process?
Look, there's lots of things obviously you need a site, you need a separation from neighbour dwellings, but there's lots of people out there who can support you. Lots of the advisors on the planning side that will come out will even look at your site on Google Map and start saying, look, don't bother, guys, this is never going to work. Oh yeah, that's a possibility. And that's what I would advise people to do. Go and have a conversation. Talk to the integrators, the ones that will be in your area. Talk to people who are out there consulting to a number of people, and they'll help you through that process and see if you've got a possibility. I think, there's so many planning applications for new farms stacked up that people are scared to put their application in, but really we've still got to build a pipeline, because when that does start to clear, and I believe it will. I mean, the integrators are doing some sterling work lobbying to try and put the point across. All the integrators, BPC, they're working together to try and make the point, because the economy needs this investment, it needs this growth. We as food security need additional chicken. We've got factories that are built that need the capacity to keep them efficient. So I think once it starts to clear, then you really want to be next in line. And then other people work out, say, well, look, I'm used to growing cereals. I'm not really, could I be a chicken farmer? What does that entail? So some people have gone down the farm-based tenancy route, and that does suit some people. But contract grower is where you're going to get the biggest margin.
So to just stop you there, contract grower would be someone that builds a site and runs it themselves then?
Yeah. So they build the site and they would be responsible. Now, these are big sites. You're going to have a farm manager or farm staff. So the other model within that piece is a managed contract. So you own the farm, but you contract the management that out. I work for a company called Applied Poultry, and that's the sort of thing we do with 10 farms, 50 sheds, and nearly 2 million birds on the ground. We will run those in partnership, but that's one model. There are other growers I work with that they farm it themselves, they recruit farm managers, and they pick up the knowledge of the business themselves. And there are other people who just FBT it. So the farm is built, handed over to the integrator at day one, and then they will run it under a fully repairing lease for 15 years. Now, margins will be slightly different risk categories there. Different things work for different farm families.
Yeah, I think you've struck on quite an important thing here, David, because as far as I can see there are plenty of people that have I guess if I'm looking at in the farming sector, and they could be landowners of a reasonable size, or they could be poultry farmers that have expanded to a certain extent, but I think sometimes the barrier to expanding further is, look, you can build as many chicken sheds as you want, maybe, if you've got the money there, but how do you make sure that you keep control, that you keep performance as good as it can be? And I think there are going to be opportunities out there for managers, as you say, that aren't maybe in the future, that aren't just taking a salary, maybe managers that can buy shares in a business, or can be on some sort of profit share.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we're going to unlock some of the staffing challenges that we've got around expansion and running farms. Because let's be honest, there's not a great big long queue of people that are forming up to work on farms.
And at the other end of that, we have some people maybe coming towards the end of their working life. Poultry's been good for them. They've raised their children, and they're doctors and they're lawyers, and they don't want to come home and farm chicken, and they don't know how to disengage. Well, putting that into a managed contract can turn that into pension for them and still get them away from the day-to-day. So those are other opportunities. It's out there. There are great opportunities. I mean, some of the issues that we've had in Northern Ireland, we have in the Wye Valley, are how we manage nutrient leakage. We've got the situation in the Wye.
And that's a major challenge, isn't it? Because I know of various places where they've got the planning. The planning's all right, but it's actually the getting the environmental permit that is the blocker, or it's the hold up. Where.
But I mean, I think the one thing we've got to remember is we have a very stable byproduct. Poultry litter's dry, it's storable, it's manageable, it has all the phosphate and nitrate locked in it. If we can find a utilisation, I was working with a company up in Lincolnshire, building a very large biorefinery where they're going to take that litter, turn it into biogas, clean up the biogas, biomethane onto the grid, take the CO2, liquid CO2, and then take the digestate, dry it, balance it with, because that digestate will come out at 333 mpk, which is not the right balance, but by adding nitrogen to it, produce a prilled balanced fertiliser. We have sorted that problem. Moy Park have done something similar in Tully in Northern Ireland. So there are things we can do, and if we think about this, we can overcome that problem. People are still buying nitrogen and they're still buying phosphate. If we can use it to plant need and store it in such a way it is used for plant need, it is an asset. It is no longer a problem. I refuse to call it a waste product. It is a byproduct. So there are things that can be done now. Some of those investments could be north of 200 million. So you need to have big organisation changes to make them happen. But those things are starting to happen, and I've been delighted to be part of that, because I just think it solves a whole lot of issues. It's very cyclical. Obviously, we're using lots of fertiliser in Lincolnshire to grow wheat. We're producing wheat, which we're feeding to the chicken. We're using straw and the bedding the chicken and in the AD process, and it's very cyclical. And I think it's a really good solution.
Mm. And from a planning point of view, then, what do people need to do to make sure that they have the best shot at it if they're going for planning permission? Well,
the low-hanging fruit here is those people who already have poultry sheds and have maybe 4 sheds on the site. We've got planning permission for a certain number of birds on the stocking density, maybe even up to 42 kilos, as we did at the start, just to have ourselves covered. That was the maximum legal at the time. Because we're destocking and we're going to stock with 30, they'll get another 2 poultry sheds without actually having to change their permit. And those are going, in Lincolnshire and various places, those are going through quite well. So we're surviving in the minute and grabbing 2 here and 2 there. And that's really important to the people who have those 2. If you've got four sheds, it's almost as easy to manage as 6 as 4 and all of those cost savings. So that's one way. But going for new sites, it's getting the right site, engaging with a good planning consultant, doing your pre-planning application, checking everything's as good as you can, go for your permit, and then make the decision. Because once the big decision is to go into planning, because then you've got to put in your planning fee. And it can be frustrating. It's so high, especially when nothing happens for months. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are very frustrated, who are very keen. I try not to talk to my clients who are in that position, because there's no point talking until we get the planning.
Yeah.
Is keeping them, almost building expectation. But look, I think that will clear. It's going to take a lot of work. Again, it's also about us lobbying to show what we do is good. That we are not a burden on the environment. The animal welfare standards are first class, It's a great product. We know our customers want to eat this product. They need it produced, and they want to know it is safe and has provenance, and that's what we can give them. So it's about pulling all those strings. I mean, there's no easy answer to it, but yeah, it's a good industry to be in at the minute. Do this planning piece, it would be really.
So, if we were going to wrap it up then, and maybe we were going to pick a couple of key takeaways for farmers to think about then when it comes to planning and expansion and future opportunities, what would the key takeaways be?
Well, I think I would. A lot of guys who are thinking about this have got, as you say, attractive land. They want to diversify. This would suit with their other operations, but they've got to think how they're going to run it. Go and talk to people and see what suits your business best. Talk to your tax advisors in relation to what suits into your the whole family setup, and I think that'll probably take you in the direction of contract growing. Look and see whether you go and talk to people. I mean, I think talk to people is great. There's lots of guys who got into this business in the last 10 years who are very open to have a conversation. They don't see you as a competitor, and go and talk to those people. Get an advisor, get somebody who's out, I'm not typing my own business, but that type of thing. There's more people than myself doing it, and we can take you through it, and that's how you make that decision, and then do the pre-planning. But first of all, go to a good planning advisor who's going to say, forget about it. Don't spend any money. It's not going to work.
You're better off spending a bit of money on a decent planning advisor and knowing that you're going to save yourself tens of thousands of pounds.
Go to the pre-planning, make sure that's clean and tidy. Go for the environmental permit, and then take the big decision to make the big investment in the planning application. And that'll take a wee while until it happens. And hopefully this thing will have moved on a bit by then.
Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much, David, for that. We'll wrap it up there, but just remains for me to remind people to subscribe to the podcast if they're not already subscribed. That way you won't miss an episode when it comes out. We do bring these episodes out weekly. But yes, thank you again for your time, David.
It's been great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.